But prior to getting there, we're going to look at Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. We'll begin reading in verse 10, and we'll read verse 10, 11, and 12. Again, thank you for joining us at Riverside Baptist Church, Kenly, North Carolina. And on a Sunday night after July 4th. Now, this afternoon, I did get a, a talk with Camille. She did listen to the message this morning, and she said, "Daddy, do you know what words you can't pronounce good?" And I said, "I know I can't talk plain as I used to." And anyway, so she kind of gave me up the country for that. But if you're joining, I'm in a healing process. We'll get there. If you don't like how I pronounce words, I'm sorry. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it. The more I try to correct it, the worse it will be. I found that out this morning. The longer I talk, the worse it will be. And my mouth gets dry, and I try to say things just like I always did. They just sound different. And trust me, it's frustrating at times with that. But I will say this. You remember Sammy and Bruce Fry came and did Brothers twice. You remember what event happened when they did their little skit? Those teeth flew out. And so if I'm ever preaching and my teeth fly out, I'm going to pick them up, stick them back in. Y'all laugh, and we're going to go on. All right? Anyway. Ephesians chapter 6, beginning in verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. First and foremost is this. What's wrong with the United States of America is the same thing that's wrong with this world. What's wrong with the United States of America is the same thing that's wrong with this world. There are people that will bash the United States of America, and a lot of that may come from those that are not citizens of our country. But folks, in recent years, there have been those in our country that are citizens that have bashed, put down, complained, griped about the United States of America. What's wrong is this. The battle. We wrestle against something. It's in this world. That battle is not flesh and blood, but notice it says it is against principalities, it is against powers, rulers of darkness, and spiritual wickedness in high places. I'll be the first one to tell you, if we had asked what's wrong with the United States of America, and you wrote that on your sheet of paper, we'd have got a lot of comments too. We all can see it. But folks, we can either focus on what's wrong, or we can be focusing and thankful on what's right. Complaining and griping usually never solve much. It may make an awareness of the problem, but it's not a solution for the problem. So you can choose to be focusing on what's right, or you can choose to focus on what's wrong. And what's right probably is not as right as we may think. America has changed a lot in my lifetime. But we can still be thankful for what we have today. And so we're going to focus, instead of what's wrong, on what's right. 10 things to be thankful for concerning the United States of America. While we could really talk about what's wrong, I want to focus on what's right or what to be thankful for. Number one, freedom. We have freedom. You have a freedom to vote, to speak, to travel, to live, to enjoy. That's something to be thankful for. There are times and conditions that a citizen of our country can lose their right to vote. This may surprise you. This is my opinion. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not. It's a privilege to be able to vote. Oh, it's a right, it's a privilege. And if it's a privilege, it can be taken away. You can lose it. It's something to be treasured. I'll tell you something else I'm not against, and this may surprise some of you here, and that is this. When I go to the polls to vote, I don't have a problem with them asking me for my ID. I'm who I am. I'm kind of surprised they haven't already done that. Really. Everywhere else I go, they ask for my ID. I don't see why it should be different there. Preacher, that ain't in the Bible. I didn't say it was. I said it's my opinion, but I'm thankful for the right to vote. A freedom. You can vote for who you want to. I can vote for who I want to. In the same sentence, I can campaign for who I want to. You can campaign for who you want to. I put up a sign for this one, you put up a sign for that one. And because I don't like your candidate doesn't give me the right to go take your sign down. Amen. Right? I'm free to do it. You're free to do it. We had a local election years ago in Snow Hill. A town councilman came to me and said, hey, I've got some signs I'd like to put up. And I said, that ain't a problem. Feel free to put them up. He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, you would let me put a campaign sign on church property. I said, I don't care. He said, well, what if somebody in the church doesn't like it? They want the other candidate. I tell them to go get the other candidate sign and put on it. If I'm going to treat you and give you opportunity, I got to treat somebody else. What would have been wrong is said, you can put yours and you can't put yours. He put a sign up. A week later, he come to me. He said, do you notice my sign got taken down? I said, I ain't thought nothing about it. He said, do you know where my sign's at? And I said, no. He said, I wonder who took my sign down. I said, probably somebody didn't like you. He said, well, I wonder who that was. I said, I don't know. He said, do you think somebody in the church took the sign down? I said, I don't know, but I'll ask. Nobody came to me and told me they took the sign down. You say, well, really, you would put a campaign sign on church property? If you have to be careful. But I didn't have a problem with it. You want to know why? Where he put it at, nobody didn't know it was church property. He put it right out front, you know. We got a lot of freedom in our country, folks. We don't have the freedom that we probably used to have. We don't. But we ought to be thankful for the freedom to vote, to speak. Hey, you have a right to speak. Now, in the right to speak, it doesn't mean you always can talk. I'll give you an example. We've had a situation in this church since I have been the pastor that a group came in and they wanted somebody that came with them to preach. Nope. Well, you got a right to talk. But that don't mean you get the floor for your platform. You can speak wherever you want to. But you got to go by the guidelines that's there. While we have freedom, you say, well, no, we have freedom for those things. All right, not only that, I'm thankful that I pledged to a flag that I'm proud of. The red, white, and blue. The stars and stripes of Old Glory represent courage, sacrifice, and patriotism. It represents those who purchased our freedom. Folks, that flag right there represents our country. It doesn't become our country. It represents our country, folks. And I believe if you're a citizen living in this country, you ought to respect that flag. It ought to bother you when people disgrace that flag. And being associated with a military church, there are those that said, I fought for that flag. That is true. There have been those that have. But they fought for the freedom for that flag represents. I'm thankful I have a rich heritage in this country. A heritage of courage, faith, honor, and sacrifice. Been raised in a nation that's taught me to be thankful. I still believe a person ought to say thank you when somebody does something that's nice. Thank you. Men, when you hold the door for a lady, I didn't say if, I said when. That lady ought to say thank you instead of look at you and say, what are you doing? Men folk, when your wife cooks a good meal, you ought to say thank you. And if you want her to cook a good meal, you ought to really say thank you. A rich heritage. Courage, faith, honor. What about this one? I'm thankful we have a government that has branches in it that are placed there for balance. What are the three branches of government? Legislative, judicial, executive. Why? To balance it out. A checks and balances system, that's right. Sometimes our government gets out of control. Oh, preacher, you're complaining. No, I'm just stating facts. But there's a balance system in it. And guess what? That balance system is not the Republican and Democrat. Preacher, you're going to go political. No. It's not in that. It's in the branches of government. Our founding fathers had wisdom to set these three branches of government for checks and balances to encourage government to serve and protect the people, and not for us to live under harsh treatment by the government. Actually, if you think about it, folks, it's a pretty good design system. I'm thankful that our country has been friends with Israel. And now I'm not saying under every president and leadership we've been exactly where we should be, but for the most part, through the years, the United States of America has been an ally with Israel. God has promised to bless nations that bless Israel, according to Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. I'm thankful we have a strong military in our country. You say, wait a minute, we don't have as strong a military today as we used to. I didn't say that. I'm just saying through history, the United States of America has had a strong military. Years ago, they church there in Newport, military church, very heavily involved with it. Great folks. They had a little cartoon painting, picture, portrait thing, and it showed the difference between this president and that president from different political parties. It was a joke. Okay, it was a joke. Under one political party, they had like a little bitty boat and people hanging all over it, and that was the military. They didn't have the facilities, but they had the people. Okay, you go to a different party line, they had a huge boat, nice facilities, but they didn't have any people in it. It was belittling it. Folks, it was a balance system. But if you look at it historically from the aspect of the United States of America, we've had a strong military. Now, I will tell you this. During my lifetime, the military probably, in my opinion, is not as strong as it was when I was younger. We took advantage of things. We had technology. We're not in that position as in dominance as we once were. But overall, we still have a strong military. I'm thankful for that. You know why? That gives us some level of protection and leadership. I'm thankful that we have liberty to worship and witness. We have liberty to worship and witness. We have, and don't, I learned something about just simply giving out gospel tracts. And I learned it in a very unusual way, and it was really eye-opening. We took a group on a mission trip, and we were going to fly out from like Raleigh-Durham. We flew from Raleigh-Durham to Newark, New Jersey, and then we flew into the Dominican. Well, the whole thing was to push to be a mission trip. And so I made it a purpose. I said, okay, we're going to take gospel tracts, and everywhere we go, we're going to give them out. Everybody was on board. Everybody was fine with that. We were excited. People were excited. Folks, I want to tell you something. You can't give a gospel tract out in an airport. It didn't dawn on me. We got to the airport, and I said, okay, here, take these and go give them out. And they started, and all of a sudden security goes, wait a minute, what you doing? You can't give them out. You know why? Because when you go through security, is anybody giving you anything? If you say yes, then you get detained. It wasn't a good, never dawned on me. Then when we get to the Dominican Republic, we stand on the corner and hold up a gospel tract, and people come running to get them. That is good. And in our country, we beg people to take them. Well, folks, you can still do that. I know people that go to Walmart and they drop them in cases of beer. Say, preacher. Oh, yeah. Next time you buy a case of beer, you see if there ain't one in there. That wasn't nice, was it? I put it there. No. Yeah. Folks, we have the freedom to worship and witness. Now, again, when you witness to people, there's a way to do it. There are boundaries. You got to learn to work within them. A greeter at Walmart can't stand at the door and say, hey, thank you. Welcome to Walmart. Are you saved today? Say, why can't they do that? Well, Walmart's not going to pay them to do that. But they can represent Christ in a nice way. We have the freedom to witness. We have freedom to worship and witness. Number 9. We can be thankful that we enjoy prosperity. America is known as the land of what? Opportunity. People just want to come to America. People still want to come to America, folks. This is not about border control or immigration and all that stuff. But why do they want to come here? Because it gives them a better life. That's America. Well, I'm thankful I live here. If I didn't live here, I'd be figuring out how to get here. Amen? Even in economic troubles, as Americans, we have more than most of the rest of this world. Even the poorest person, and there are some poor people in the United States of America, even the poor people have more than what a lot of other countries have. That's pretty amazing. Could you imagine a 10 or 12-year-old boy in our country memorizing a book in the Bible, such as Romans, to just be given a baseball and to be excited that they had a baseball? A 10 or 12-year-old in our country today that doesn't have a phone gets mad. They think they deserve it. They think they've earned it. They think they have a right to it. What blows my mind is you go to a third world country, they don't have houses to live in, they don't have electricity, but a lot of folks have a cell phone. I can't figure that one out to save my soul. While we have been the land of prosperity, folks, we sold a lot of technology as a nation. And we quit producing. We took the quick buck instead of the long haul. The 10th reason to be thankful I live in America is because God blesses America. Everything that we went over is simply God blessing our land. Again, I read Philippians chapter 6. Emphasis was on verse 12 for what we battle with. Folks, where God blesses, Satan attacks. It's a battle. The reason that it's a battle is because God has blessed the United States of America. We have gone over, will the blessings continue? I can't answer that, but I will tell you this. I'm thankful that I live in the United States of America. If I didn't live here, I would be one of those trying to figure out how to get here. You can relate to that. I don't know what you wrote down, and I don't know who has your sheet now, but be thankful of what God's given us, the freedom that we have, and take advantage of it. Use the opportunity wisely that God's given you. Fair enough. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday night, the Sunday after July 4th. We became very patriotic for a few days.